Hi, George.
How have you been?
Oh, just fine. It's great to see you again.
Yeah,
Before we talk about your recent trip, I want to ask you a question.
sure.
What does it mean to you to be a beat poet?
For me to be a beat poet is to have the sensibility of beat generation during the conformist era of the 1950s, when people were conforming to the social expectations of, happy days and good times, and there was a countercultural movement which was incipient, came out of Bohemia, and it represented a rejection of the conventional practices of bourgeois society. So to be a beat poet for me is to have that point of view of a countercultural point of view, which you express through the means of poetry.
Okay, thank you. Now, you just returned from a very exciting trip. Uh,
Yeah.
Feel free to tell us all about that.
Well, it was a pinnacle moment for me. Hopefully, it's not a precipice that I'm not going to come crashing afterwards. But I've been working very hard for the past 5 or 6 years to establish and to expand an international profile for myself in the world of poetry festivals, and other activities that are shared on an international level. And I've been doing some good festivals, festivals which are more or less not on the charts. But the most recent one, which I got back from yesterday, was Medellin Poetry Festival, Medellin, depending on your pronunciation, in Colombia. Largest festival in the world. Quincy Troop calls it the greatest poetry festival in the world. And I was able to play a prominent role at this year's festival.
Well, tell me some of the activities that went on and awards, etc.
Yeah, well, it was 80, I think it was 80 poets, approximately 80 poets from 50 nations. So it was generally worldwide, um, a collection of people staying in a hotel in the Grand Hotel in Medellin, um, because the streets are still a little dangerous. It used to be cartel. And going out on a daily basis to various locations, libraries, universities, open air parks, etc., museums, to share poetry with the public. Started with a 3,200 people at this huge amphitheater, open air amphitheater on a hill, one of the hills overlooking Medellin. It's up in the Andes, so it's surrounded by hills anyway. Ended at the same location, and I was given the honor of being one of the 6 people in the opening ceremonies, and being one of the poets in more of us, like 40 of us, in the concluding thing at the end, which was Saturday afternoon. So along the way, because I've been involved with this World Poetry Movement, which is the not umbrella organization, but the foundational organization for the Medellin Festival since '93. There's a few Chinese people at the event, in Medellin, and they had an award. I don't have it up here with me, but they had an award that they were holding on to me for one of the festivals in China. A big camel, golden camel, which they brought in their luggage from China to hand to me on one of those days. Of course, the thing had broken off of the off of the face. So, but I've got it home and I've glued it in on top of it, and it's good to go now.
Oh, great. What is the picture behind you? Is that from that festival or is that some other event?
That is oh, that is the annual Walt Whitman um, marathon reading at Brooklyn, Brooklyn Bridge Park. You see, that's one year we all gathered at the end of it. 32 chapters, whatever it was, of Song of Myself, and I took a picture at the end. So
Oh,
I put that in there for the
oh
Zoom meeting. It just I forgot to take it on.
Well, it's a good time to ask you about your what you do with the Walt Whitman Birthplace, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm birthplace just up the street from me, a few miles. I live in Huntington on Long Island, though I teach in the city. Well, one birthplace asked me to serve as the writer in residence in 2011 at the birthplace. They have like, big shot position, poet in residence for Yevtushenko's and Sharon Olds and Galway Canals. They come each year and do something there and then leave. But as the writer in residence, I do more of the grunt work, organizing events and representing the birthplace, when I travel around. It was supposed to be a 1 year assignment. That was 2011, but yeah, we both, both myself and the birthplace sort of got hooked on each other, and I've been doing it for 13 years now. I've been the writer in residence there.
And you are involved with several publications. What are they?
They're not associated with the Wall and Birthplace, but I founded the Walt's Corner, which is a poetry column in the Long Islander newspaper. That's a Huntington newspaper founded by Walt Whitman in 1838. And I started the poetry column there when I was writing as a reporter for the paper. Long Island Quarterly, that's all Long Island people. Poetry Bay, which is online and is really national in scope. So those are my main publications, regular publications.
And you
Got
also do on a Zoom, once a month Zoom.
Yeah,
Tell me
yeah,
about that one.
yeah. That's part of this international profile. And 2 years ago, I decided to for World Poetry Month to triangulate communities worldwide for 5 sessions in March. Excuse me, 2022. In other words, a group of people from England, group of people from, I don't know, India, and a group of people from New York, you know, meeting by Zoom, 3 or 4 of us, so that it has more than just a random collection of people and gathering and sharing work. But that worked so well and got so much enthusiasm that in 2023, I did a second year and I did one a month. They come out on Saturdays and they're usually at noon because you want to get a group from Korea and a group from Europe and a group from New York together or Boston or something. And you got to find a time where nobody's in the late dead of night. So I fixed on that. And we did that 11 months in 2023. And we're doing it again this year, 2024. It's called Poets Building Bridges. And it has, what's really nice about it is there's a lot of things good about it, but people feel like that they're doubling down or even tripling down on the way that they're sharing. Because it's not just you and 11 other people who could be from anywhere. It's maybe you and 3 people from South Texas, with 3 people from Switzerland and 3 people from Chelsea, England. So I mean, you're getting to share as a group, and you're getting much more of a full exchange, multi-dimensional exchange. That's the theory behind it.
I like that.
Yeah, it's working.
What other projects, new or ongoing, that we haven't talked about, do you have on the horizon? Which includes books, if you want to say.
Well, I'm trying to limit the number of books that I put out. It's getting ridiculous. I've got 41 now, so But I just keep churning out material. So I want to have the material end up somewhere besides on Facebook because it just becomes disappear into the ether. So I don't want to have I don't want to have a stack of books as high as Shakespeare because I mean that demand is going to exceed that supply is going to exceed any conceivable demand for George Wallace now or in the future. So I'm trying to hold it down, but I do have one book out this year, the local gems. We're coming out with one in December with Servina Barva. That's Gloria Mindock in Somerville. Massachusetts in December. And I've just agreed to another book with Melissa McDonald at Michelle McDonald at Roadside Press. So that'll put me out in the next year.
Okay, lots, still some books coming.
Yeah,
Um,
albums too. Music is coming.
tell us about
Working-
that.
I'm working with a classical musician and an impresario soprano in Italy to produce an album of my poems put to quasi-classical, song, recitative type song. So that's due out, and from time to time, some musicians in New York City hit me up and say, "Hey, I saw you did a piece with Peter, Kozlowski or Rick Eckerly or Joe Stabotnik or somebody like that. How about I'd like to do one like that?" So I field opportunities like that all the time.
That's great. Any poetry festivals coming up soon, or the next few months, or early next year?
The only one I've got booked is there'll be there'll be some, but I have to limit it to seasonally to when I'm not teaching. So
Oh,
it's December,
do you,
January, or the summer months. But I made an exception this year because they're going to be giving me the Aristotle Award, the Nausa
ah,
Award
yeah.
in Northern Greece. So that sounds like a big deal to me. So
Oh
so
yeah.
so I'm going to sneak out for a few days in October and September, October to do that to Greece.
Well, where do you teach, and are you full time, or and I guess you teach something like poetry?
Yeah, actually, no, I
Writing?
don't teach poetry, which is just as well. I mean, I teach freshman English composition, critical writing. I'm an adjunct professor, paid by the job. It's almost like get in the back of the truck. We're going to build a house today.
Oh,
Really, I'm like a pickup employee.
mhm,
It's semester by semester. They decide if they're going to give me something. But I've been doing that since 2009 at Pace University, downtown Manhattan.
mhm.
And they've been good to me, and I enjoy the experience. I didn't think I thought I would hate teaching, but it turns out it really keeps me fresh. Keeps me fresh. Au courant with the way young people are. Every year, I'm involved with 18-year-olds, so I'm not entirely cemented and zombied out in the 1968 anti-war movement era. I've got some currency.
Mhm. Would you happen to have a poem or two handy?
I I didn't know if you're going to ask me that, so I mean,
Yeah.
I'm at my computer, so let's see. I can read something to you for sure. All right, so I've just clicked on the book that I'm preparing for Roadside Press. Uh, it's called Speed Casino. It's a manuscript, Speed Casino. Uh, so I don't know how much time we have, but why don't I do one that I just wrote? It was like appeared on Facebook 3 or 4 days ago. It's called Love Is Part Two. Okay, it's probably 3 minutes. You have time for that?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, good. This makes use of my layering on cubist surreal technique, with a lot of contradictory points of view about a thing. So you get a composite collage picture of the thing without just ranting in one direction. It's called Love Is Part Two. Love is an assassin's bullet gone astray. Well, you know where that came from. If you know just what's happened in America in the past week or
Yeah.
two. Yeah. A dog let off its leash. It is an arrow pointing both ways at the end of a dead end street. It is a port of flames. It is a flatterer's memory. Love is a flat out lie. It scuffles in the back row of the movie house. Love creeps in through every window, helps itself to the silverware. It is whiskey and macaroni salad. It is a stifled yawn on an overstuffed cushion. It is the landlord scowling at the back door, rents come due. Love is a warm spot on the marriage bed recently abandoned. It is a kind word passed between two strangers when it's hot, cruel, and indifferent as Los Angeles outside. It is a barnyard door. Where have all the pretty young horses gone? It is a flickering hallway light. It is a servile mutt on the living room rug that barks at nothing and bites and bites and bites at itself for fleas. Love is a lonely Brillo pad in a rusty sink. It is a cold plate of ravioli waiting for you when you roll in drunk and half-past legal. It's a jug of wine with the cork still in it. Love is the exception, not the rule. It's the expiration date on a blue can of Maxwell House. It's a squirt gun. It's a birthday card from your aunt with a $5 bill in it. It's a quick round of whoop me darling on the way home from school. Love is a pink rubber ball with your name written on it. It's that chalk white zombie you bet. It's randomly exchanged kisses against a chain link fence. It's a high heel parking lot. It's spray paint. It's religion. It's hanky panky under 20th century kitchen light. It's a neon sign that won't quit. It's Marlon Brando in a torn tee. Love is handsome. It's Neo. Love wheels two crying babies down the cereal aisle, and mom cranky as a mule. Love is neighbors asking all the wrong questions. Love is a big sister who disappears for weeks on end and turns up on the doorstep with a greedy graffiti artist or a drifter or a gas house queen for a friend. It is a box of tampons ripped off after midnight. It's the checkout boy who winks and looks the other way. Love is always being tested. Love blindsides you at the intersection of nowhere and here. Love is a rescue ambulance or being abducted by aliens. It's a flat tire on the way to work or home from work. It's a hickey. It's a scar. It's a bird tattoo you got in an abandoned churchyard after midnight and forgot you got. It will never fly away. Love is being the bigger man. Love is being tender when it's too late to be right. Love is the biggest mistake you ever made in your life. Third time this week. Love is hairpin turns on the 4th of July, pancake eyes. Love is envelopes with Dear John letters in them addressed to some unsuspecting dope, unsent, yellowing, unwise. Love is flushed down the crapper by furious dads. Love is a lock of hair snipped from the head of an appalling bride and kept in a locket for 50 years. It's nice to touch, but reality is a real bastard to handle and swears in a slouch hat. It bribes mothers. It disobeys restraining orders. It temporarily shuts men up. Love is torn between two bad choices or none. Born and bred in private, undercovers, really ought to stay that way. It's a game show host. It's unsafe at any speed. Love's gasoline poured onto an open flame. It's 4 runaways on a mattress made for 2. It's hunting for pennies and floorboards. It's eyelids drawn thin as a dime. Love is banging for heat on the old radiator pipe. Love lies bleeding from your mouth. Smack me for luck. Take my hand for luck. Love me. Love rebounds like dawn. It is a new generation of lost children scheming their way into or out of some very pleasant situations in hell.
Wow. Oh, thank you so much, George. I love your poetry and I appreciate you and all that you do for poetry. And thank you for taking time to talk to us today.
Always a pleasure. Thank you for asking. Take care, Belinda.
Okay.